Hello.
Welcome back to Sustainability in the Sea.
Oh, hello, Riley. She's here too.
Haven't done this in a while, so this is fun.
Yeah, hi guys. I feel like we've just had so many awesome guests, but it's also important for us to kind of talk to you. So we thought no better topic to discuss than best advice for aspiring marine conservationists and ocean scientists and marine biologists, because we're always getting countless questions from you. And I know we have the other episode, Our Paths, that kind of answers a lot of those questions and talks about our journeys, but this is really just Q&A.
Yeah, more so just advice rather than talking about what we did.
Yeah, so if you're someone who has asked us those questions in our DMs or over email, this episode is definitely for you. We're going to talk about what we think the best pieces of advice and lessons can set you up for success in the field. So let's
and also
get it.
keep the questions coming. We love them.
Oh, yeah. We have a Q&A feature now on Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify, where you can just ask us a question or say like what you want. So that's below. If you want to ask us there, you can also DM us, email us. We have a contact form.
Yep.
Any other ways?
Keep them coming.
Comment on TikTok. Those kind of get buried sometimes, but
yeah, send us the DMs.
Yeah.
We'll check them out.
But anyway, welcome back to Sustainability in the Sea. Okay, before we get into the advice segment, we have a really exciting announcement.
Oh.
What?
It's pretty wild.
It is pretty wild. It's something we've been wanting to do for a really long time. It's going to be happening in May of 2023, but we wanted to let you all know first, and we're going to be letting the people who subscribe to our Blue Messages program, so our text messaging, where you can get facts and information and news about the sea sent to your phone a few times a month. Yeah. We're letting them know first. But
also our Ripple subscribers.
Yeah, we're going to let the Ripple subscribers.
Love our email list subscribers.
Yeah, all that stuff's going to be linked in the show notes if you want to be part of all those other ocean things as well. But yeah, what are we doing, Alex?
We are actually changing our organization name. I know. The Conservationist Collective is just way too many syllables.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, so the Conservationist Collective was like the name of a blog that I started when I was in graduate school and I wanted to share sustainable living stuff. And then, you know, when it had some subscribers, had some posts, all these things, and it just like made sense to be the company's name when we founded.
Yeah, it evolved from there.
Yeah, and it's too much. How many syllables is that? Like, I can't even count.
It's like 9 syllables or something like that.
And what really has made us change it is that it's so hard to say, even if you work in conservation, even if you say conservationist every day of your life. It's hard. It's tough out here. Also, my dad told me years ago that I shouldn't include the, and I ignored him, and he was right.
Yeah, it's just one extra word, one extra syllable that isn't totally necessary.
Okay, anyway, so we're going to tell you, and just know we're keeping the logo and all the colors and all the things. So if you see this change on our social medias, just know it's intentional, and we're still the same people with the same mission. Okay, yeah. Alex, what is it? What is the name?
Sustainability in the Sea, presented by FutureSwell. High five.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. All right. Anyway, that's our soft launch. See you around. Let us know what you think about it. Even though we love it. So
yeah, let us know what you think. We appreciate your thoughts. But let's get to some advice.
Yeah, let's get to some advice. All right. So we, like I said, get all these questions. So we wanted to. I think we're staying with like 5 pieces of advice, and then we'll probably do a part 2 or a part 3.
Yeah. Definitely let us know too if part 1 was helpful. Like, what do you want to hear in part 2 and 3?
Yeah. So okay, the first piece of advice is for the youngsters, the ones who are in high school, who are deciding their college path, who are choosing their major, and it's basically just like, don't overthink your major or what school you go to.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in terms of school, it's the opportunities you make for yourself that makes you a better applicant for jobs or a better conservationist or biologist or whatever you want to be. It's not really the school. Like, yeah, there are schools that are higher ranked or they're more prestigious.
Yeah, like Scripps. Oh, everyone thinks like great marine biology program when you think of Scripps, but you don't have to go to Scripps to be a good marine biologist. And to be honest, there's like accessibility and issues to going to a lot of these schools because of how expensive they are, because they're private. And so everyone's like, what program should I do? Where should I apply? And I'm like, whatever makes sense for your life.
Exactly.
Like, I chose my school based on my financial ability and based on where the people I loved most were going. And what did you choose yours based off of?
I wanted to be near the ocean. I grew up a little bit inland, and I was like, this is not for me. And
being closer to a coast will help with the ability for you to find better opportunities working with the ocean. Whereas, like, I went to a landlocked undergrad program, and so I had to, like, kind of work harder. So there's that, but it doesn't matter exactly what school you go to.
It's definitely not an end all by any means. And I always say, like, one of my favorite sayings is, like, if you go to, like, the most prestigious marine science school in the nation and you don't do anything, don't do any extracurriculars, don't do any internships, don't take it seriously, the person who goes to some small state school who does apply themselves and does do those extra couple steps will be in a way better situation.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more about, like, our specific paths, we do have the Our Paths episode, which is our most listened to episode.
Yeah, that's a fun one, honestly.
Yeah, which should kind of just, I don't know, you'll get to know us a little better. But don't worry about that. And then the second piece of that is grades. So I get so many people being like, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at science. And I think that when you're in high school, like, and even early college, like, it's really important to have a strong foundation. And, like, there's free tutoring, and you need to find those resources because you do need to understand at least the foundations of math and science. But, you know, like, I was never strong with physics. And
yeah, are we using physics in our day-to-day?
No, we're not.
Like, yeah.
And
not really.
especially with what we do at the Conservationist Collective or FutureSwell, I didn't learn any of it in school.
You learned it all externally, doing other things.
Yeah, like, so much of this is from, like, me and Alex liking to create video edits when we were kids or teenagers, or I know that for one class in undergrad I had to make a blog, or I chose to make a blog for my project, and that helped me make websites and all the things.
Yeah. All right, so what do you think, like, what kind of skills do you think are valuable if it's not necessarily the strong academic skills? And, like, those skills...
Is that the second piece of advice?
Sure, yeah. We'll
what skills?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, because it really depends on what you're specializing in or what your long-term intention is for it. And it's like, okay, so I can look at this through the lens of marine mammal science, right? It's like, you're going to need to learn how to use a camera. Like, you're going to need to learn how to do that, because that is how
you photo ID things.
Your photo ID catalogs are created. So that's something that, you know, you don't need if you're studying fish. So I think it's really dependent. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I think if you're not going the hard academia route, which, like, if you don't know what that means, it means, like, going on to do a master's, do a PhD, become a professor, do hard research. If you're not trying to do those, I think it's more so the soft skills. It's the writing and communication are key. Project management, figuring out how to work in teams.
Oh, yeah. Being able to work with different personalities is, like, probably one of the best skills ever. And
that is a really good one.
I do want to say, this is like a hot take. Me and you talk about this because me and Alex are, like, kind of old farts. But, you know, like, socialization can be really hard, especially for the generation that grew up so significantly intertwined with technology and phones and with COVID. And I cannot stress how important it is to overcome some of those fears that you might have when it comes to being on video calls, talking to people you may have never met before, and getting them to work together with you on the same project, like building rapport with people who maybe you've never had to work with before. Like, those skills, you can't ignore them. You can't avoid them. Maybe you've been able to avoid them because school was at home and you were on classes on Zoom and you never had to put your video on and you never had to meet in person. And it's just, it's going to severely hinder you if you're not able to be with other humans.
Yeah. So those social skills for sure.
That's what, my friend Gabby always says. She was one of our first episodes, Gabby Lout. She's actually Dr. Gabby Lout now.
Ooh, congrats to her.
It's soft skills all along. What are other soft skills?
Would you consider writing or communication a soft skill?
So, yeah, we talked about this. Like, writing is one of the most, me and Alex talk about it all the time. Like, literally all the time. Because what are you doing every single day? You're writing. You're writing emails. You're writing flyers.
Reports,
you're writing social media captions.
Yeah.
You're writing reports. You're writing grants. All those things. You're writing your thesis. You're writing your report. Like, anything. And, like, So ask yourself, like, do you know how to write? Are you confident in your writing abilities?
And so, like, when we grew up, especially us in our generation, we were told, like, oh,
we're
you
27, 28, 29.
Yeah. Late 20s. Thanks. No, but we were told, like, oh, if you want to go into, like, the sciences or biology, you have to be really strong in the math and sciences. And we were like, okay. And so I personally was like, I don't have to be a good writer. I don't have to worry about that. And that just threw me for a loop when I realized that was not the case.
Alex comes into our office is right next to our bedroom, and he'll come in and he'll just be like, I was told I didn't have to prioritize writing, and I can't write this thing.
Yeah.
And it's
still not my strongest suit by any means, but I've gotten a lot better, and it's just so much harder to learn when you're not like a student, when you're not developing those skills. So. And
like one thing, if you are like, I want to improve my writing skills, the best thing you can do is read books that just make you want to read books. Like it doesn't really matter. They don't have to be dense. It can be fun. It can be love stories. It can be whatever. Just read your books and practice different types of writing. I always say, I had some good teachers, but really at the end of the day, I had good assignments that I actually did. And like,
things you enjoy too. So
I was able to practice creative writing and nonfiction and all these things. And so even though we mainly work with nonfiction writing reports and things about the real world, like all that other stuff contributed to it.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So like if you were like, oh, I want to build some skills but don't know how, I don't have any classes, like try writing a blog, try submitting a journal, like an article to a journal, or not a journal, but like a magazine or something. Just
submit a blog to us.
Yeah.
We'll host it. If it's relevant to our community, we will. So email us.
Nice. Okay, what's next? What's the
next piece of advice?
Yeah, next tip we have.
I don't know. What's on there? We planned this a little bit in advance. We want it to be valuable for you all.
Okay, I feel like this is a good segue. So we're talking about all these skills, and it's like writing, it's photo ID, taking photos,
socialization.
Socialization, social media for what we do specifically. As marine conservationists, like in this field, you're not always on the water, and I feel like that's a tip that you kind of have to learn early. I've spent some field seasons where I do get to be on the water, on the beach, doing surveys and stuff, but right now, currently, I spend most of my time behind a computer. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, is the advice just to not expect that you'll be in the water?
I think it's just curbing expectations to understanding what it really is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And same with me, like you can, mold and shape your career to have in-water experiences, but for the most part, like we live in a world that's so reliant on computers, and that's great because it means we can work in different states and work at different times of the day and don't always have to be together. But I think I always get those on my videos. People are like,
how do I do what you're doing?
And I'm like, I filmed this like I'm not even able to really film when I'm doing a lot of in-water work, like marine science work, because I'm busy doing the work. So sometimes we're using clips from our recreational experiences in the ocean.
But it still counts. It's still working towards the same goal.
Yeah, so curb your expectations and just make sure that you're getting in the water outside of work too, because that's also just as important. And me and Alex have talked about this, and we don't have to get into it too deeply, but like sometimes when you're working in the water, it can make you not like want to do it recreationally too.
Yeah.
Oh, with some soft rain in the background.
Nice. I think we touch on that point in our paths. If not, we will in a future episode.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, and then that's advice number 3 is curb your expectations. And then I think advice number 4 is like kind of create, we said this in our paths, but like you really need to create opportunities for yourself and create pathways. So I'm going to use an example right now. So 12 Tides, shout out 12 Tides. They're a brand that makes kelp chips.
They're delicious, by the way.
They're so good. And so kelp is obviously a regenerative food source, and it's a climate solution. And so kelp farms are thus part of regenerative ocean farming. Okay. 12 Tides is a growing brand, and they are hiring a TikTok manager, actually. But one of the perks of that job, oh, by the way, go check out their social media if you're listening to this in April 2023, because they're probably still hiring. But the perk of this is you get to go to one of the perks, you get to go to the kelp farm and help shoot content that will be used for media and storytelling. Okay, so you're being hired to make TikToks remotely, but you also get access to learn how kelp farms work. You learn how to tell stories. You get experience with video and photography, and you get to build connections with the team. So that's a perfect example of getting your foot in the door, even if you maybe don't want to do that long term.
Yeah. And also, like, taking advantage of those opportunities. So it's like, don't just go and just take the footage like you're paid to do and then go home and edit it. Like, really interact, really figure out how these kelp farms work, really dive into it, because
that's what's going to help you later on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then just another example of
creating opportunities
for yourself. There's another episode with Bodhi Patil that Carissa did. Yeah, it was a good episode. But he straight up asked Sylvia Earle, right?
No, it was Christina Mittermeier.
Sorry, Sylvia Earle. Respect. But yeah, just ask Christina Mittermeier, who is a huge ocean advocate and photographer and storyteller, just to advocate for his project. And she just replied and was like, sure, sounds good. Like, he just went up and asked her.
That's one of my favorite episodes. Oh, I love our podcast. That's one of my favorite episodes because his whole thing is just ask, right? And I was actually in the middle of like a work crisis at the climate conference in Miami earlier this spring, and I walked outside and I was feeling so overwhelmed. I had no idea how I was going to do this task. And I literally heard, I was looking at Bodhi, like, he was inside. And I just hear him in my head in the episode go, when you need help, just ask. And I walked in and I asked everybody for help and everyone helped me. And it was like one of the best experiences of my life.
Awesome.
I know.
Love that.
Okay, anyway, that's a tangent. So, creating opportunities for yourself. I think a lot of that looks like what I would, I guess a hypothetical, kind of from personal experience, is say you start volunteering for a lab. We'll say you're volunteering for a dolphin and whale stranding lab. And you've been there a few months, you got your bearings, you got your footing, and you see something that they need that maybe they don't have the bandwidth to do. And so once you have your footing, you don't just go in blind. You can speak to the team or the supervisor or whatever and say, like, I think this is valuable. I'm willing to do it. And something that people might have the privilege to do when you're a student is be able to go and have that conversation and then offer to do it for free, which is, in a supervisor's perspective, an offer they can't refuse. And then you just get all those skills. And so I think that that's a good example. And if you find yourself in a similar situation where you're in an internship or an externship, but you want to do more and you want to do other things or move into a different direction, just sit your supervisor down, let them know what you want. We can't expect people to read people's minds.
And so I also just want to say, like, there's so many of you that are listening that reach out to us as the Conservationist Collective / FutureSwell in the future. That do reach out and are like, hey, do you have any internship opportunities? And I love that. Unfortunately, most of the time, the answer is no, just because we are a small team working on very specific projects. But keep putting yourself out there. Keep asking. Like, whenever I reply personally, I always try to, like, give more like advice and opportunities. Like, if I know of somebody else, I will suggest that, or suggest the Ripple, which is our newsletter, which we do have blue opportunities in. So it's like,
yeah, that segment has internships, sometimes scholarships and fellowships, but definitely jobs. And we try to focus on like entry-level jobs or mid-level jobs because that's like our community's age group. And so definitely subscribe to that if you haven't. We have tons of, the TikTok job will be there in this month.
Yeah, but just make opportunities for yourself. All right, what is our fifth piece of advice? And I think our last piece of advice.
Our last piece of advice, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, we're going to have to do a part 2. There's so many other things.
Of course we will.
Yeah. There's literally so many other things.
All right, I'm going to go with this one. In this field of marine conservation, it's a relatively small field. And so I think that it's all about your personal relationships. Who you know is kind of how you get jobs and opportunities.
Okay, so Alex's brothers are like super business minded, and they always say this saying, which is such a corporate finance bro saying, but they're like, your net worth is your net worth. And which I'm like, all right guys, like, but they're right. Yeah, and they got a point. They do have a point. And so it's the same with marine science. And like, I always tell this story of me when I went freelance and Alex was I think, about to go into an island for 4 months. And I was like, I don't have any jobs. And it's like, well, we went to dinner with some friends. And I didn't even say it. I didn't even say anything. And like, you are supposed to be putting yourself out there. I just felt uncomfortable doing that in like a casual dinner setting. But like,
we were not making opportunities for ourselves at that time.
No, we were not. But the point is like, you know, if you're graduating in the next 6 months, like, start telling people.
Yeah, tell people, I'm graduating, I'm looking for a job. This is what I'm good at.
This is what I do. If you make sure your resume is up to par, we have a resume builder on our website that you can get, and it's like exactly how to make, you know, sometimes there's CVs, obviously, if you're going on the more academia track, but like to make your resume as strong as possible during that job application process. But, you know, I mean, me and Alex applied for 70 jobs, and I could, now looking back, I can say, well, they didn't know us.
Yeah, I know why I didn't get interviews for any of those jobs.
Yeah, they didn't know us. Whereas, like, now we have, like, 100% track record pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And how many, like, jobs and opportunities do we get for this business that we have, too, that it's all word of mouth?
It's all literally just, like, we trust them. And that's another thing is that's why your personal relationships are so important, because it's, like, if you do good work, that reputation will speak for you. Mm-hmm. And say you have one reference, right? And it's like, well, you should probably make sure that you're showing up the best you can, because not because you always should, which I agree that you should. It's also because later on, that's what will speak for you when you try to get the next step in your career.
Totally, yeah. And like, yeah, the same thing. If you do a poor job in a role, then that will get around too, because it is a small community.
Yeah, and I just want you all to know, like, we don't really have it all figured out. We just have made all these mistakes, and these are the lessons we've learned in the last 10 years. Learn from our mistakes. Yeah, and we are watching our peers make these mistakes, and it's like everyone gets to some of these conclusions later on, and we just want you to learn it now. So thanks for listening. We're totally doing a part 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe let us know if you enjoyed this and if you have any other specific questions you want answered. Otherwise, we have plenty of more of unsolicited advice for you.
Unsolicited. It's kind of solicited. And yeah, check out the resources in the show notes. And we love you guys. Thanks for listening to Sustainability in the Sea.